In the quaint town of Willowbrook, nestled at the edge of a dense and ancient forest, there stood an old and dilapidated mansion that had long been abandoned. It was said that the mansion was cursed, a place where the veil between the living and the spirit realm was thin, and where the echoes of past tragedies lingered. One stormy night, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to explore the mansion despite its chilling reputation. Among them was Lily, a curious and daring young woman who was always drawn to the macabre. The group entered the mansion armed with flashlights and their own bravado, determined to unravel the secrets hidden within its decaying walls. As they ventured deeper into the mansion, their flashlights illuminated dusty furniture covered in white sheets and cobwebs that seemed to stretch across entire rooms. But what caught Lily's attention was a small room at the end of a long corridor. It was as if an invisible force was pulling her toward it. Upon entering the room, Lily's flashlight beam landed on a wooden table, and there, upon a frayed red velvet cushion, sat a doll. It was no ordinary doll. Its glassy eyes seemed to reflect the dim light, and its porcelain skin was paler than moonlight. Its dress was a tattered remnant of elegance, and its hair, once golden, was now matted and faded. Lily's heart raced as she stepped closer. Inexplicably drawn to the doll's haunting gaze, she reached out to touch it, and as her fingers grazed the cold porcelain, a shiver ran down her spine. The doll's eyes seemed to shift, following her every move. "Hey, check this out," she called to her friends, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. But as they gathered around, the atmosphere in the room grew heavy, and a cold wind seemed to blow from nowhere, causing the candles they had brought to flicker ominously. One of Lily's friends hesitantly touched the doll's dress, and at that moment, the air grew still. The room became suffocatingly quiet, and the doll's eyes glowed with an eerie light. Then, without warning, the doll's head turned slowly to face its new visitor, its glassy eyes locking onto theirs. A scream tore through the silence, and panic ensued. The group fled the room, their frantic footsteps echoing through the mansion's corridors. But as they reached the mansion's grand entrance, they realized that the door was sealed shut. It was as if the mansion itself was determined to keep them within its grasp. For hours, they searched for another way out, their fear growing as they encountered inexplicable phenomena. Ghostly whispers, shifting shadows, and glimpses of figures that disappeared as quickly as they appeared. And all the while, the doll's presence seemed to haunt their every step, its gaze relentless and unyielding. As the night wore on, exhaustion and terror overtook them. It wasn't until the first light of dawn broke through the windows that the door finally swung open, releasing them from the mansion's clutches. They stumbled out, their faces pale and their hearts heavy with the weight of what they had witnessed. Years later, Lily found herself standing outside the mansion once again, its windows shattered and its walls crumbling even further. She couldn't forget the doll's stare, the feeling of being trapped, or the chilling presence that had clung to them that night. The mansion had claimed a part of her soul that night, and she knew that the doll's eyes would forever remain etched in her memory, a reminder that some mysteries are best left untouched, and some curses are too powerful to be broken. In a remote corner of the world, hidden amidst thick forests and rolling hills, there lay a village shrouded in mystery and fear. This village, known as the Mist-Veiled Village of Vanishing, was not marked on any maps, and those who stumbled upon it were said to be cursed. The villagers were known to be reclusive, rarely interacting with outsiders. Their homes were quaint and rustic, but the air was heavy with an eerie silence that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to wander through. Legends told of how the village had been veiled by a supernatural mist, a phenomenon that occurred every night, cloaking the village in an impenetrable shroud. Curiosity gripped a young woman named Emily, an adventurous soul who had a penchant for uncovering the unknown. She had heard whispers of the mist, veiled village from travelers, and was drawn by the enigma that surrounded it. Determined to quench her curiosity, she embarked on a journey through dense forests, guided only by faint rumors and an old map she had acquired. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily reached the village's outskirts. The air grew cooler, and the first tendrils of mist began to weave their way through the trees. Pushing forward, Emily entered the village as the mist thickened, wrapping around her like a cold, clammy embrace. The village seemed to come alive as she walked its cobblestone streets, but not with the vitality of life. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and the flickering lights in the windows cast an eerie glow that sent her heart racing. She noticed a few villagers, their faces obscured by the mist, moving with an unsettling fluidity. They paid her no heed, their eyes seemingly locked on something distant and intangible. Emily's determination wavered, but she pressed on, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and excitement. She came upon a dilapidated inn, its windows covered in dust and cobwebs. As she stepped inside, the air grew thicker, and the walls seemed to whisper secrets that she couldn't quite decipher. In the inn's dimly lit lobby, Emily spotted an old journal lying on a dusty table. She picked it up, and as she began to read, she learned of a curse that had befallen the village centuries ago. The villagers had made a pact with a malevolent spirit to gain prosperity, but in return, the spirit demanded the souls of the living. The mist was a manifestation of the spirit's power, a veil that allowed it to claim its victims without a trace. Chills ran down Emily's spine as she realized the implications of her discovery. The villagers had been trapped in a cycle of appeasing the spirit to avoid its wrath. But her presence had disrupted that cycle, and the villagers' gazes turned toward her, their eyes gleaming with an unsettling hunger. Panicked, Emily turned to leave, but the mist had grown thicker, making escape impossible. The villagers closed in on her, their movements unnatural and disjointed. She felt a cold hand on her shoulder, and as she turned, she came face to face with a figure whose eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. Terrified, Emily tried to scream, but her voice was stolen by the mist. She could feel herself fading, her body becoming insubstantial. She was becoming one with the Mist-Veiled Village, another lost soul trapped in its haunting embrace. And as the mist swallowed her completely, the village returned to its eerie silence, the journal falling to the floor, its pages filled with stories of vanished souls and forgotten lives. The mist rolled on, cloaking the village once more in its enigmatic shroud, a place where curiosity led to vanishing, and the living were forever entwined with the mist of the afterlife.